Hope you guys had a great Friday. Yes, it's Valentine's Day, but we love this money and we love the idea of financial freedom. So let's go ahead and jump into this pre-market brief. We're going to start off by taking a look at crypto. We see that it is pushing in the green, and now we're going to take a look at the averages and how they ended the week, and then we'll jump back to crypto just to get an idea of where we may go as far as the markets are concerned on Monday. So we had the Dow Jones ending the week at plus 0.10%. basically breaking even. We had the S&P at plus 0.05%, also just about breaking even, and the NASDAQ ending the week at negative 0.22%, just below the red mark. Let's take a look at the S&P chart analysis just to get an idea of where we may go going into next week. What we see is that we are still in that sideways trend. We haven't broken out of it yet, but there might be a sign of a slight downtrend if we exaggerate this just enough, with this area right here being a high, this being a lower high, and this barely breaking even with this other lower high. So we'll see where we go next week, if we'll hit another low high and then continue in the sideways trend, or another lower high and go and break through this bottom region or bottom boundary at 6,780. But let's go to the 30-minute time frame and see if there's any other detail that we can see. The only thing that we see is that we have produced a higher low, with this being the first low at 6,794 and a higher low at 6,817. So hopefully this is a new floor that we have created, a new pressure zone in this sideways trend to hopefully push us back to the upside to break through this most recent high at $6,908 on this 30-minute time frame. But we will see going into Monday. I don't believe there's any economic data dropping Monday. It is a federal holiday. And Tuesday, we do get advanced retail sales and home builder confidence. So we're going to be looking forward to that. But let's go ahead and head back to crypto markets, and we are going to take a more detailed look at Bitcoin and see where it sits. We see that it's breaking through. It broke through that $68,000 mark from yesterday, and a low this week of about 65, lower than 65, maybe 64,000. We'll see, but right now it's just hovering at 69,000 and in the green on the weekend, which is a good sign of positive momentum for the crypto markets and specifically Bitcoin. But looking at the daily time frame, we see that all last week and pulling a little bit into the week before, we're just generally in a elevated sideways trend. We did have a low right here at 60,279, creating our lowest floor at 60,000. So our lowest last week or the week before was 60,000. So lower than that 64,000 I just mentioned. So 60,000 is our most recent floor, or not our most recent floor, our lowest floor. Our most recent floor is sitting at $65,105. And we just bounced back up from that the last 2 days of this past week, which is a solid sign. The next boundary or upper resistance level or ceiling that we're looking to break through is at about $72,094.15. So we're going to be looking to break through that hopefully next week. Let's go to the 30-minute time frame to get a better idea of what is going on this lovely weekend. What we see and what we like to see is all these stair steps back to the upside, pushing back into the green over the past 24 hours or 48 hours or so. So we have our higher lows, which we love to see. And then we had a breakout right here because this was one of our recent ceilings at $68,344. And as you can see, this is an example of what happens when a breakout above a upper resistance level or ceiling happens. So you get that initial break right here on this candlestick. Let me zoom in just a little bit. And then once you get that one candlestick that is above this red candlestick right here, that is above that upper resistance level, that somewhat confirms the idea that we may be pushing to a higher price range. And then we had a push up, then a push back down, and the creation of a new floor, most recent floor at about $68,654. So that's around our most recent floor. And what we would like to see through the rest of Saturday and into Sunday is just continue to create higher lows and higher highs. Here's a high, here's a higher high, here's another higher high at 70,000, and we want to continue to push that through into Monday. But we will keep our eye on that. Now, I wanted to get into a little bit of news regarding crypto. There is a lot going on in the space, even though it does not get a lot of attention. One of those things is that FedEx actually entered into the Hedera network as a council member. And this is Hedera is a token, and it's basically going to be used to simplify and optimize the supply chain, which is huge. Now, FedEx isn't the only member on this council. This council includes the likes of Google, IBM, Dell, and other major companies in the general space of the stock market. So if you don't think that crypto and this stablecoin bill and the Clarity Act is not going to pass, and crypto doesn't have momentum, and Bitcoin is just going to crash and not going to bounce back from this, you got another thing coming. There's a lot of things happening. Another piece of information that dropped just recently is that the Federal Reserve, that's the main bank of the United States, is proposing new margin rates for crypto derivatives. They're getting detailed about the specifics of crypto. That tells you that there are a lot of background pieces getting put into place regarding crypto, regarding Bitcoin, regarding tokenized assets, regarding blockchain, that is paving the way for the future of supply chains, technology, finance. This is just a sign in the background that nobody's talking about that shows that this adoption is happening. So Bitcoin, crypto may be down because of the news of the Clarity Act not passing, but in general, adoption and a lot of the details are getting worked out. This digital infrastructure is building. Other than that, we're going to head back to the Webull platform. And yesterday, Cameco, which is a nuclear energy company, released their earnings yesterday, and they beat by a large margin as far as their earnings. Their EPS, or earnings per share, which is what the investor gets paid, expected was 0.32 or 32 cents, but they made 50 cents, which is, if you understand finance and earnings reports, that's a big beat. Beaten by 1 or 2 cents is great, but beaten by 10 or 20 cents when it comes to earnings per share is major. They also beaten in revenue, hitting 1.2 billion rather than the expected 1.1 billion. That's $200 million more dollars in revenue. So that is a solid sign that not only is nuclear a major proponent of this energy boom for AI, but that in general, the energy market, whether it be gas, nuclear, electric, battery powered, whatever, it's booming right now. And it's only just the beginning. Some of the major notes that they put out in this earnings call was that even though they're in talks with a lot of people in the development of nuclear plants, they have seen that talk turn into proposals and contracts and future buildings. But one thing that is bottlenecking some of this future progress is the supply. I believe there was a diagram on the slides that they showed during the earnings call that displayed the wedge that's happening between the supply and the demand, and it's growing larger. And one of the things on the earnings call that they discussed was the fact that they don't want to front run the supply before they get set in stone contracts with these companies that are looking to build out these nuclear reactors. And I mean, they have a lot on the list. Countries such as South Korea, Canada that wants to build 4. The US already announced that they want to build 8 to 10, but there's a good probability that they're going to be building 8 to 10 more nuclear reactors. As far as energy build out, Poland wants 6, Bulgaria, Slovenia, Slovakia, and South Korea, which they already have a nuclear reactor in, is looking to upgrade and maybe build out even more. So the demand is there. Energy is booming. They just want to get these set in stone as far as the numbers before they start expanding their supply of uranium, or their mining of the uranium necessary for these energy plants. Other big facts as far as Cameco is concerned, they beat revenue year over year, or their revenue grew 11% year over year. Their earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, or EBITDA beat last year by 20, or progressed last year by 26%. And their net earnings, this is big, year over year grew by 115%. So the boom is there. Revenue is going to be there over the coming years. We just have to get these things ironed out in the contracts. Let's take a look at the charts real quick and see how Cameco looks on the monthly time frame, daily time frame, and then we'll get a little bit more detail and see if there's anything that may be warning us of a small dip. But in general, on the yearly time frame, let's go there. We see that the last 4 or 5 years has just been growing, not just as far as U.S. demand when it comes to the company, but stock price, but global demand. So this is why it has just been increasing. I believe China is also one of their customers. But let's take a look at the monthly time frame. We see that we got that lovely exponential curve that we like to see on a stock. It's not as pronounced. It only started really expanding after 2025. This year, so it was somewhat in a sideways trend, but it had a gradual progression. But we love that curve. Let's go to the daily time frame. We did have a dip from the beginning of, or the end of January into this earnings report, so we would like to see this rebound and bounce back to the upside, or maybe hit a consolidation period where it's going sideways and then pushes back to the upside once we get into the next quarter and see a little bit more information regarding the deals with the US and other partners. But let's go to the 30-minute time frame, and we're looking pretty solid, still in that, showing that downtrend. We got a high right here, a lower high, and another lower high, lower lows on the chart. So right now we're in a small downtrend on this time frame, but solid stock, solid company. Earnings was phenomenal. One of the many energy players in the portfolio that is going to take advantage of this boom that we have as far as data centers and energy required for the infrastructures of countries and their national security and all these other things. But let's go ahead and head to some more news regarding Planet Labs. Yes, they are in the news again. And like I was discussing yesterday, they have a lot of contracts coming out in the European area. And what's crazy is they just released an article discussing 2 advisory boards that they have created to help in their expansion in European defense. I'm telling you, man, a lot of business, a lot of contracts. This company is going to grow. It has so much opportunity, not only in the US arena, but in the global landscape. But they have created 2 advisory boards, one with specific European partners and another with general intelligence and national security communities to develop, or to better assess, address, and provide intelligence and national security information through their satellite provisions. But major moves for Planet Labs establishing this council, because it just gives them a pipeline into the intelligence and national security space on a consistent basis, with people that are more than likely going to be recommending their product, recommending their satellites to these industries and to these countries and entities. But other than that, so we have talked about some of these small and mid-cap startups that are within the portfolio, but one of my recent favorites Archer Aviation. I talked about this company a few weeks ago, but it's basically a eVTOL, which is an electric vehicle. Oh, I don't know what it means, but it's an electric aircraft that's basically supposed to take over the short-range travel industry like helicopters, but be more efficient, quieter, and better for the environment in general. But Archer Aviation, one of the penny stocks that I have invested in, not but a few weeks ago, Kathy Woods also placed a portion of her stakes in this company. And what I found out today, looking at some of the news, is that BlackRock, if you don't know who BlackRock is, it's one of the major investment entities in the world. But they just took an 8.1% stake in Archer Aviation, which is huge. That's a huge sign of confidence. And BlackRock is one of the main companies, investment firms that are invested in a majority of the Magnificent Seven, and just generally they dominate the investment industry. But they took this stake looking at the progress Archer Aviation has made, although noting that there is the headwind of FAA restrictions, which we are looking forward to seeing some progress in by the end of this year, in the second half of this year, which is noted by Archer Aviation in one of their articles. But yeah, Archer Aviation, a penny stock, is somewhat still a penny stock. Penny stocks are typically below $5. It's at about $6.77. Monthly time frame is showing that lovely stair step, higher highs and higher lows. Very volatile since 2024. Very volatile. Look at those candlestick lines. That's crazy. Daily time frame still somewhat in a downtrend. We broke through the most recent sideways trend or consolidation at the end of last year, hitting a somewhat another consolidation into the beginning of this year and dropping down a little bit more. But with this entrance, as far as BlackRock, it just gives more confidence to the industry. But other than that, guys, I think that's all that I have for today. Yeah, hope you guys have a great Valentine's Day. Enjoy your partners, enjoy your people, your family, your children, whoever it may be. But yeah, have a great Saturday. We will more than likely catch up tomorrow and see where Bitcoin sits on the day, and see if it continues this push or holds this push around the 70,000 mark, and get ready for Crypto Monday, because the markets will be closed on Monday also. But yeah, I will be putting out more information. Don't forget to stock the future. We want our weekends to be a lifestyle, not just weekends or vacations. So let's invest, be wise about it, not be emotional, and build for the future. You guys have a great Saturday, great Valentine's Day, and I will talk with y'all tomorrow. Peace.